Hello, and my name is Pete Rushmer, and I'm your host today of A Half Dozen Things podcast. A Half Dozen Things is a podcast for business owners just like you. Whether you're an underdog hungry for success, or you're already smashing it but want to continue to level up, we are here each week for you to get insight and learning from the very best in the business. No fluff, no BS, and no self-proclaimed gurus talking about how easy business or life is. Hello and welcome to today's LinkedIn Live and Facebook Live. I hope you guys are keeping well and having a lovely, jolly old time. So how is everyone? I'm feeling very Christmassy, so I thought I'd show off my Christmas hoodie. I like a bit of Simpsons as well. So I thought I'd get in the festive spirit. And I've got a really exciting new system to share with you that I've been working on for the last little while. And it's something which has been born of the work that I've been doing on the Half Dozen Things podcast and the Fleet Geeks podcast as well, as I've been learning, particularly on the Half Dozen Things, by speaking to experts in their field, fantastic business owners, excellent entrepreneurs. And I've been piecing together, what is it that drives high performance? And the Performance Trifecta is the system that I've come up with, which I think is going to help revolutionize the way that leaders are able to interact and drive high performance within their teams and within their business and organizations as well. And for some time, I've been getting up and writing, and I'm nearly there on completing my book about this system. And today's the opportunity, just before we get to Christmas, that I wanted to launch the concept on LinkedIn and Facebook, and this is actually going to become its own podcast as I look to sort of progress and do more with it. So the Performance Trifecta is essentially a system, which means that it's no free bet. There's no, there is no gambling involved, which is why I chose the term trifecta, because it's guaranteed to get results. And I'm really excited because it's a system that I've been using in the Flagship Partners business for some time, and it's something that I've been implementing with our clients as well. And it's a really, really exciting system. So the principle behind it is that essentially we struggle to guarantee performance. What I found is that people have their own ways and their own methods. And if you listen to other podcasts, there's a great podcast out there called High Performance Podcast, which speaks to different athletes and different successful people in their fields. And it starts to try and understand, what does high performance mean to them and how do they achieve it? Well, the principle behind the Performance Trifecta is that there's three key elements, three key ingredients to help drive high performance. They are direction, the other is skills, and the third is energy. And interestingly, energy is the pillar that underpins the direction and the skills. So I just wanted to go into a little bit more detail with people around what they are and why they're so important to driving performance. So to start with energy, one of the things that we need to work out is that what essentially motivates us and what motivates our team. So if I'm starting a new business and I'm selling widgets and I'm not really that interested in widgets, and I'm not particularly interested in earning more money, but I just want to create a business, I'm not really going to give that business the time and the energy it needs to be able to survive. So essentially, it's very much like anything in the natural world. We need to have energy to evolve and grow. And as people, we need that in our work to be able to make us perform at our best. Okay, so one of the things that really inhibits and challenges businesses is that if people are coming to work each day and they're not giving their best and they're not giving their energy because they're feeling demotivated, because they don't have the skills they need to be able to do the role that they've got, their performance is going to be quite low. So energy is really, really important. And one of the things involved in energy is motivation, which is really, really important. And certainly as part of my training with a motivational map practitioner, I've been able to understand and support and understand businesses and people a lot more around their motivations and help support what that may look like for different organizations as they start to map people within their business and start to understand what it is that's driving them. Because one of the things that's really common, particularly in some of the industries I work in, is that people just think that they go to work for money, and that isn't true. There's lots of reasons why people are motivated and why they go to work and what the things that they're motivated by. Some people are motivated by the meaning and the purpose of their work. Some people are motivated by being seen as the expert and getting lots of training and being able to develop themselves into being the expert and the go-to person, the guru, so to speak. They love that. Some people are motivated by being seen as the knowledgeable person and being recognized and having that recognition, the people who want to get employee of the month, for example. And some people are really motivated by security, stability, and having job security in the work that they've got. So people bring all different things to work and people are motivated in all different ways. Now, the benefit of a motivational map is that we are able to start to measure that and understand how people are made up with their motivations, but also how motivated they are by that particular motivation as well, and how they're actually achieving that and whether that's working for them or not. So it's a really, really exciting prospect to be able to work with companies around the energy that people are bringing and their motivation. Some companies we help with employee engagement surveys. That helps too. So for some time, people have understood that we want to drive good engagement and culture. Hi, Chris. Yeah, wonderful to see you too. I hope you like the red Simpsons hoodie for Christmas. And it's really important that people bring that energy to their work, okay? Because they're not going to do their best work if they're not motivated. They're going to leave, and when people leave, that costs the business money. But also, they miss and lose really good people who they've invested into train and develop and nurture and those kinds of things. So really getting to grips with how motivation works in a business is really, really important. And that starts with the leaders as well, in what motivates them and understanding what's going to drive them, because ultimately they're the driving force and the energy behind the business. They are pushing a business forward and they need to be able to bring their best selves to work on a regular basis to be able to lead effectively. Okay, so that's the first part of the performance trifecta. The next one is around the direction. So direction is around the leadership and the vision of an organization. So, and it also includes things like the policies, the procedures, the processes, all the management systems that go behind that as well, because different organizations need different levels of structure, but the direction is around.
Hi, it's Pete from Flagship Partners. We're proud to sponsor a Half Dozen Things podcast. Flagship Partners help their clients become safer, greener, and greater through a range of consultancy and training services. We offer audits through to risk assessments, contracts through to support with managing your culture, all the way from mandatory training through to management training as well. So if you need any support, please do get in touch with Flagship Partners today.
Both the leadership and the vision for the future, but also the way things are done around here and ensuring that we've got really strong, robust management processes for things. So, for example, things like compliance and health and safety, they fall within this direction pillar. Okay, so each of these pillars are quite broad. There's quite a lot to think about in each of them, but essentially a good organization will have a really strong vision. They'll have a value system. They'll start to develop the culture, which then starts to creep over into the energy of the trifecta and starts to help develop that. But ultimately, it's about setting a vision, a meaning and a purpose for a business and a mission that the people can get behind and that motivates them to want to perform better and do fantastic work. So there's some work there. When we work with our clients on the performance trifecta, these are some of the things we start to think about. What's that direction look like? What's the goal? And what are the strategies that we're going to implement to try and achieve those goals as we start to develop the organization? So a really exciting one to be working on. And then we start to look at things like policy and procedure, making sure that we've got good systems in place for people from a human resource and people point of view, from a health and safety point of view as well. We start to help sort of mold together these systems and processes that help underpin what the organization is, and then also helps to support good performance moving forward. Because ultimately, if you don't have great people systems, if you don't have great compliance and safety, you're not going to perform very well as a business either. So that's a really vital part of what you do, and this is obviously something that Flagship Partners are really committed to helping our clients with. So that's that direction piece, and it's about how managers are managing the business and how leaders are leading the business, who's in charge and what is the culture that's being created. How do we measure that, and how do we help underpin it, and how do we help people perform by giving them the right structures, the right equipment, the right investment, the right materials that they need to be able to do their work well. Absolutely vital stuff to be able to get that direction right. So in many businesses, it might be a cultural piece around the vision and the values and making sure that we set the direction. This is the vision that we're heading in. And some companies already have great health and safety and people processes, but they don't have the vision and values piece. So we can start to underpin that and start to work with that. Sometimes they might have a great vision, but they haven't necessarily got the compliance bits and pieces. And the issue you've got is when you leave stuff to chance, then people won't necessarily do what's expected of them. And setting that expectation, that direction, is setting an expectation is really important to be able to help try and achieve performance. And then the third area is skills. So essentially, when people have a performance issue in many organizations, and as a consultancy and training company, we're all too familiar with this. When people have a performance challenge, they will often go for investing in skills, training, development, those kinds of things. I'm saying that's great, let's do that. But we do also need to make sure when we're looking to try and drive performance, to make sure that the direction and the energy is right. It's no good sending people off for training if they're unmotivated or demotivated. They don't want to perform, they don't want to improve, because you're going to send them to training and they're not going to, they're not going to develop their skills because they've got no engagement in developing their skills. They don't align with the direction of the business, for example, so you're never going to get that performance. So skills is a really vital part of achieving high performance. And obviously the more skillful people are, the better their skills, the better they're going to perform naturally. A good example is a football team, for example. The teams that tend to have the better players tend to perform better week in, week out, because they've got the better players playing for them. But similarly, interestingly, we do often see, particularly in football, that you have the teams with the best players, but sometimes they're not winning because they're not performing, and it's probably because the direction and the energy is off. It might be a management issue, it might be a motivation issue, you might have some distrust in the changing room, those kinds of things, right? So it's good to understand what's behind the scenes. Now, the thing with skills to achieve high performance is essentially they can be trained into people. So we often hear people talk about, I would sooner employ for attitude than I would for ability, for example. And that's often a really good case, because actually if people have got the right attitude, we can train them, we can develop the skills and nurture them to be able to achieve great results in the business and the organization. So it's a really vital part. However, one of the things that I want to sort of make really clear is that if we just focus on skills, we'll develop a team of people who are really skillful at stuff. They know what they're doing, but ultimately they may not be performing still because we've not got the right leadership, we've not got the right motivation behind the work they're doing. So we're investing in people, but actually they haven't got that motivation to want to perform, or they might just take those skills that we're investing in them and move them elsewhere. So the performance trifecta is really, really important, because it helps companies attract and retain really good talent. Okay, and with skills, it's often good to notice that actually in certain roles, we don't necessarily need the most skillful. We don't necessarily need the best. Essentially, most roles have what I call a skill stack. It's something that I picked up from the Stephen Bartlett book, Happy Sexy Millionaire. There's this thing called a skill stack. Now, if somebody is 70% good at 5 different tasks, which are the exact 5 different skill sets that are needed for that role, actually 70% in all 5 is going to generate a really, really strong individual, because people often don't have that mix of skill sets. So it's really important to look at that and nurture it. But obviously under skills as well, we have emotional intelligence, we have good communication skills, which is absolutely vital in organizations. We come across increasingly challenging work environments where we have generational differences, we have different attitudes and perspectives around work, and sometimes that can hinder performance as well. So there's often an education and training piece around the communication skills that are necessary to be able to perform effectively as a team and work together in a harmonious atmosphere, because ultimately culture is everything, and the trifecta will help create that. Because when we do talk about culture, it's kind of this ethereal thing. It's really hard to explain. We don't know what the right culture is for a business, but with the trifecta system, we can start to build that effectively and start to see how that's going to how we underpin that high performance through the different elements of high performance. So it's quite an exciting prospect. And one of the things that I would say is that, when you look at teams and people who are performing highly, sometimes they don't necessarily need the most skillful or talented people. A really good example is recently when Leicester City won the Premier League. The Foxes done a fantastic job. They won the Premier League. They had a team which was much lower value than some of the other teams. Their players weren't as highly paid. They didn't pay as much money for them. So this skills issue, this skills was sort of taken out of it. They were skillful. They're Premier League players, right? But ultimately it was around that motivation, that working together, the team philosophy and the direction that they put together to be able to achieve that high performance was really vital. So I hope that I've given a nice overview of the performance trifecta system, and that actually if we start to follow the steps that I'm going to outline in the book and in the podcast, as we start to develop those systems in our organizations, we're going to be able to develop high performance for ourselves too. If you're interested and you'd like to learn more, please do get in touch. Drop me a message on LinkedIn, drop me a message on Facebook, or drop me an email, pete@flagshippartners.co.uk. And please do subscribe and listen into future podcasts, and I'll see you again on the next one. Thank you.
I really hope you loved today's episode, and if you did, please make sure you subscribe and listen out for future episodes too. Please do share it across your social media channels. We hope to reach more and help more people. If you want to find out more about me, my name's Pete Rushmer. You'll find me across any social media channel, and my business, Flagship Partners, and we're your partners in success across your business. Thank you. See you again soon.